Leadership isn't about strength of body, but rather it's about strength of character. And Augusta, the Ephor of Septimont in Wuthering Waves, was an excellent example of servant leadership, the type of leadership that Christ says every leader should display, especially if they are a child of God. Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Behind the Pages. This is the podcast where we talk about biblical topics creatively so that you can both live a godly life and make godly art. I am your host, Edward Wiggins. So let's introduce our character. Augusta is a character in Wuthering Waves who is the current ruler or Ephor in the gladiator city of Septimont. She was chosen because of her mighty display of strength in the Colosseum. She remained undefeated, rose through the ranks, all for the purpose of uprooting the corruption of the Septimonian Senate. Now, in the wake of a prophecy that threatened to take her life, she was swallowed up by the darkness of an evil entity known as the false sovereign. This entity followed her throughout her childhood, whispering in her ear, telling her that she was too weak and it needed to rely on her power because she wasn't able to save her friend. Well, the truth of the matter is this entity was attempting to groom her to rely on it so that she could eventually be consumed by that entity. Eventually, she was consumed, and she did so because she wanted to fight against it. She was swallowed up in the darkness, and while she was there, the false sovereign stripped her of all it thought it had given her as strength. All that it thought would define her. But she was able to return to the light because she found her strength not in all the outward ornaments of her leadership, but rather in the people who she led. When she was in the dark tide, those who gave their life for her and those she served gave her the power to defeat the sovereign for good. So here's how she mirrors Christ. In Matthew 23, verses 1 through 12, it talks about a servant leader. And Augusta, she was willing to put her life on the line for her subjects, understanding that she was there to serve, which contrasted the mindset of the Senate leaders who sought to exploit her and their people for their own gain. In Matthew 23, 11 and 12, it states that those who shall be greatest among you should be the servants of all. And this is the heart of leadership. Augusta gained her position to serve the people by removing the corruption from the Senate with her power. She was humble enough to bear the weight and fame of that leadership. Jesus, in the same way as the King of Glory, God in the flesh, humbled himself to serve all of mankind. Yes, he was famous among the people because he did the miracles, but the miracles he performed, he knew that it was to minister unto the people. His character was able to bear the weight of the recognition and fame. Augusta also mirrored Christ, understanding that she, like him, was there not to serve, but to be served. Now, as a sacrificial leader, I mentioned that Augusta gave up her outward displays of greatness, her crown, her weapon, her ornaments and jewelry, so that her people could rise above the darkness. This made her a true leader of Septimont and earned her the title, the Hero of Heroes. Jesus did the same. In Matthew 20:28, Jesus talks about how he was there to serve others and give his life as a ransom for many. Augusta understood that for her people to truly be set free, she had to sacrifice herself for their good. And Jesus knew that for us to be saved from sin, he had to sacrifice himself for our good. Augusta, like Jesus, knew that unless they became the seed that falls to the ground and dies, the fruit of their people's freedom would never make it to harvest. Lastly, both Jesus and Augusta gained a name above every name among them. Augusta became one of the prophesied heroes of heroes, just as Jesus was given the name at which every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess as Lord. When Augusta and our main character, Rover, Jesus, defeated the false sovereign, they both were titled the Hero of Heroes, one of the great honors given in the city of Septimont. But it was only when she was willing to give up her greatness for the sake of her people that she was able to be risen to that position. In the same way, Jesus was granted the title name above all names because he was willing to humble himself in spite of his divinity for the sake of mankind. Even though Christ was equal to God, he humbled himself and was obedient to God to the point of dying for the world. It is because of this that God highly exalted him and gave him that name above every name. It is through humility that Augusta mirrored Christ in that when she sacrificed herself, she was given the highest title in all the land, just like Christ was given the highest title in the universe. So this is what I want you to get out of the character of Augusta. She reminds us all of the biblical mandate of a leader, to serve in God's stead. If we are to serve in God's stead, then like Jesus, who was God on earth, we must be willing to serve the people who are subordinate to us and sacrifice for those same people. And it is through humility and sacrifice that our names will be exalted in positions of authority. Not so that we can exploit those people, but rather so that we can serve those same people just as God would. Never forget that as a leader, whether you are a husband, manager, CEO, or parent, your job is to serve the people over whom you have leadership. You may not be given a name above every name, and you may not be called the hero of heroes, but you will be a servant and a leader after God's own heart. And God will bless you and give you all the resources necessary to continue to lead in his stead. Anyway, guys, this has been the episode. If you like what you heard, definitely consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Also, share this with 2 or 3 people who you think need to hear the gospel message in this format. Lastly, I am a musician. I do come out with music every quarter and every month. So if you wanted to check all of that stuff out, links are going to be in the description and also to the right-hand corner in this little card box. As always, I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.